And so maybe talk a little bit about what it's like to be in business with your romantic partner. And also, I think you guys have some interesting philosophies around management and leadership that I think more companies could benefit from. So maybe talk a little bit about that.
Me and her actually split up. We decided to part ways in the healthiest way possible. And in terms of the business, we still operate in the business together. And this is something that I really like, because majority of the time that people break up, everything falls apart. When it comes to leadership skills and what she does and what I do, that's our biggest priority, I would say. It's the way that we treat our employees or that we treat our customers. Something that I see too many businesses do far too often is, if an employee is not capable, fire them, hire someone that is. Why not grab someone who's not capable and build them to that capacity? Because once you build someone to that capacity, and you invest time, energy, resources, money, that person's gonna stay with you forever.
Imagine having direct access to someone who's navigated life's toughest terrains and come out stronger. Someone who's been there, done that, and can guide you with empathy, experience, and honesty. This isn't just advice. It's a lifeline, a strategy session, a chance to learn from my journey so you can accelerate yours. Without the ability to be self-aware and introspective, the ability for you to get to where you want to go, nearly impossible.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the David Guttman podcast. Really special guest today, Luis Izquierdo, the founder and CEO of TradersMrk.
Yeah.
So how long ago did you start TradersMrk?
So I started TradersMrk actually about a month ago. But before TradersMrk, I had a brand called Pips Nation that accumulated thousands and thousands of traders through a Telegram channel. But I figured that a rebrand would have been very effective for the community, because on Telegram, I was only sending signals, and I saw that after the course of 2 years, signals is not enough for a trader to become profitable. Because even if they copy signal by signal by signal, their psychology is going to cause them to enter trades that I'm not sending out, meaning them manually entering their own trades. Or they're not going to know when to close out the signal correctly. They're not going to know how to do many different things. So I decided to create TradersMrk in a Discord server where I have different channels, and in these different channels, we offer different value. For example, one channel is signals from me specifically, another channel is from another educator. Then we have a trading analysis channel where we're showing you a full analysis of what we're doing before and after, so you understand a complete breakdown of what we're trying to do on this trade, or what went right, what went wrong. Because we also like to be very transparent about what goes wrong in trades, because that's the only way that we learn as traders, through our losses. Apart from that, it's just more value for the more value for the person to grasp. Instead of just grasping a signal, they're grasping a whole masterclass. But it's divided in a very A through Z type of way for them to understand very clearly on a Discord server rather than Telegram. And that's TradersMrk. That's all it really is. TradersMrk is really me going more in depth with my students and helping them become more profitable traders, but also helping them become better figures of themselves. Because it's not just trading, it's more about the mindset that you want to develop to become a successful businessman, not just a successful trader, which goes hand in hand.
Well, so let's go back a little bit, because part of what I do in the podcast is, and part of the reason I wanted to talk to you was finding people that have taken sort of maybe the road less traveled, a little bit less of a common path to success, and maybe, you know, some of the trials and tribulations that sort of got you to where you are. So maybe it's born in Cuba originally, and maybe talk about your journey a little bit, what your folks do, and what kind of gave you the entrepreneurial bug in the first place.
Yeah, so I come from Cuba, a very, very poor country. Like if you go over there right now, in majority of the cities, 90% of the cities, you won't even be able to find crackers at a grocery store. It's that bad over there. And I came over here from Cuba when I was 3, and I lived in Miami all my life. At the age of 20, I decided to move out of my parents' house for one reason alone. I was trying to do Zoom calls, and my mom was too loud because she was a Hispanic parent. So I'm like, I can't have this in the audio in the background. So I'm like, I'm going to take a risk and move out. And I decided to move out, and I lived in Doral a couple of years. And then from Doral, I now live here close to the beach area. I don't want to disclose that. But essentially, the trials and tribulations that got me here was me as a fifth grader, sixth grader, seventh grader, having to go and pick up cardboard in the street with my father in South Beach. And I had to do that all summer long. And then the days that you would get off school, like certain holidays, I would have to go and work with him. And we would have to do that to basically meet ends meet. And that really developed a mindset where I told myself, I don't want to be in this position when I'm grown. I don't want to be in the same position where my kid can't do something that he inspires to do because he's forced to do something to provide for us. And that's really what started to shape my mind. At the age of 13, 12 years old, my mother got into network marketing. And in network marketing, she met this person who was a 19-year-old kid who went from dirt poor to, in the year of 2008, I was like, yeah, in the year of 2008, 2009, when the whole economy was collapsing, this guy was making $400,000-$500,000 a month.
Oh.
And I saw that, and it instantly clicked with me. I instantly wanted to hang out with him every day. So me and him really connected over ice skating, right? Because he liked to play hockey. I didn't even know how to ice skate, but just so I could be around him, I learned how to ice skate, and I became such a good hockey player. Nowhere near pro level or amateur level, but just good enough to like hang around him. And, hanging around him every weekend, I learned so much from him in the entrepreneurship mindset. And that's where I started my first business, where I got tricked into that business. That business was me thinking I was going to get paid an hourly wage when it was just all commission. And that business was actually called Primerica, a life insurance business. Have you ever heard of it?
No, I haven't.
So Primerica is a life insurance company that sells term life, and you invest the difference into a mutual fund. So by the time your term life is over, 20, 25 years, 30 years, you'll have accumulated enough in your mutual fund that you don't need life insurance anymore.
Okay.
So Art William, very successful and genius businessman, said, you know what? 99% of people outlive this term. So for our company to make stupid money, let's just offer whole life. Let's just offer term life. Why offer whole life if everyone's going to die, unfortunately? Let's offer term, get them to invest the difference in a mutual fund. And when they have enough in the mutual fund that covers their term life, they cancel their term life, or it comes into a expiration because it's 20, 25 years, depending on what you pick. And then you just live off your mutual funds. By the time you reach 60, 65 years old and you have invested, let's say you started at the age of 25 and you have a mutual fund doing 8% every single year from 25 to 65, you have accumulated at least $800,000, where every single year that it compounds, it grows even more and more, even when you're taking dividends off it. And I got involved in that business model. And the reason I say I got tricked was because I thought it was a job where I was going to earn an hourly wage. But that business shaped my mindset in such a tremendous way. I learned how to sell people onto life insurance, which for an 18-year-old is no easy task, especially here in Miami because everyone's Hispanic. I had a funny conversation with this guy. He's a truck driver. And I'm like, sir, what happens if you're driving and God forbid something happens to you? And, what is your daughter and your wife going to do based off you telling me that you're the provider of the home? Stay-at-home wife, your daughter's in middle school. What would they do? And he's like, well, bro, in the funniest way, he looked at me so serious in the face. He's like, they'll figure it out. And I'm like, wow. So it's like trying to sell life insurance to those type of people who don't understand how important it is, because it really is important at the end of the day. If you have kids, if you have certain people that depend on you, it's very important. Now, if you're a single person in Miami or any other state and no one really depends on you, then I don't see the point in having it. But if you have people that depend on you, like a mother, a father, a fiance, a kid, then it's very important to have life insurance overall. And that's essentially what I did. And I learned sales through that. I learned how to talk to people. I learned how to close deals, which was so important, which to this day, it still helps me tremendously with any type of deal I'm trying to close. And the biggest thing that it helped me with was I really started to become somewhat successful in that company. You know, $3,000 a month for me back then was success.
Sure.
But I started to make money in the company once I started to have integrity and actually selling to people that I cared about. Meaning I wasn't selling the product just to make a commission. I was selling it because I was generally helping that person in case worse came to worse. That's when I started to making a little bit of money and a little bit of money. And then from there, I got tricked again into another business, which was the Forex industry. This was a friend since elementary. He comes across me and he's like, hey, man, I made $7,000, and shows me his phone, shows me MT4 at the time. MT4 was like the big thing back then. Then MT5 came out. And I'm like, wow, like you made $7,000 on your phone. How did you do it? He's like, I traded this and I traded that. And I didn't understand a single thing, because if you have never seen trading and you look at a graph, you're going to be like, what is this? It looks so confusing. But he's like, hey, at Florida International University, they host meetings every single day at 7 or 8 p.m. And these meetings have 500, 400 people, which are brand new people, just like myself. This is when a company named IML was just launching.
The multi-level marketing thing?
Yes, network marketing, another network marketing business. And I decided to attend, and everyone in that room was my age, from 19, 20, all the way to 30. Everyone in Primerica was 40 and above. So I related with that crowd so much heavier than with the one in Primerica. And they start to go over different products like swipe trades, you know. People are like, or the announcer, the speaker's like, does anyone know here what Tinder is? And everyone's like, yes. And then he laughs and he's like, well, swipe trades is the new Tinder. You swipe on the trade that you want to take and you swipe on the trade that you don't want to take. And it was a product that really blew the company up. And I saw how from trading you can make so much money. I saw the opportunity and I decided to sign up and quit my other business. So then fast forward a week, this is when I knew that this industry is effed up. In my first week into the industry, I'm at McDonald's with my friend and I'm like, hey man, I left my wallet in the car, right? Can you just cover me? And then he's like, I don't have money. Keep in mind, we're both 19 at this point.
Right.
He's like, I don't have money. I'm like, what do you mean? You just made $7,000 last week.
Hey.
And I'm like, you haven't withdrew it? He's like, no, I made $7,000 on a demo.
Right.
I was just showing you what we could do. And this whole time I thought it was a live account. So then I'm like, well, great, right? Fast forward, I pay for my own food. But that's when I'm like, this guy tricked me into this. So then the same week, I go to the FIU, Florida International University, and they're like, guys, you have to recruit. You have to recruit. You have to recruit. You have to recruit. Nothing about trading, everything about recruiting. And I was a really good recruiter with Primerica. I had a pretty established team. So I start recruiting and I start moving up the ranks. And then after 4 or 5 months, I get to a rank called almost P2000. I almost get to that rank. And then from 1 week to the other, my whole team leaves. My team was majority girls. The reason I picked majority girls is because where girls go, guys follow.
Right.
Right. So I picked girls that, you know, had a brain, you could say, enough to work the business, but still looked the part to attract the guys.
Right.
And from 1 week to the other, my business fell. And the reason my business fell is because my upline in network marketing was trying to get at these girls. And these girls were like, what the fuck am I doing here? And they decided to leave the business. And that's when 6 to 7 months into IML, I just decided to quit everything, walk away, and learn how to trade. And this is where I love talking about this. I don't really talk about it, but this is where traders mainly mess up. I decided to learn how to trade by looking at the academy. And the academy shows basic Forex 101 things, basic support, basic resistance, basic things from a technical aspect level that when you see it and you see someone drawing it, you're like, okay, I could easily do this. And I tried that and I failed immediately. I deposited about $500 into a broker, lost it within 2 trading days. And I'm like, why did I lose? I did the exact same thing the video showed. And that's one of the major things I like to talk about with trading is that just because you see something work on a YouTube video does not mean it's going to work for you.
Right.
So that's where I started to understand that this is a whole lot harder than what it looks like. And that's where I'm like, this is going to take a lot of time. And at the time, I wasn't making any money. I left, the business I was in. I didn't even make more than $1,000 a month because I never reached the following rank. The previous business, Primerica, I didn't want to sell life insurance anymore just because I found this new obstacle, this new opportunity. And from there, I decided to get involved with Amazon. So I just got a job, right? And when I got involved with Amazon, this brand new warehouse was opening in Opa-locka. It was called MIA 1, Miami 1. And I picked the night shift. I picked the night shift with one purpose. I'm like, Amazon during the day is shipping out hundreds of thousands of things. But at night, they're not really shipping out that many things. So at night, I'm sure work is a lot slower and I could slack around a little bit more. That's why I picked the night shift. So I'm like, I could have more breaks or whatever. I picked the night shift and I become a packer. A packer at Amazon is basically its name. You grab this thing, this coconut water, and you put it in a box and you send it down a conveyor belt. And from being a packer, within 1 week, I got promoted to being a problem solver because the manager's like, hey, are you good with computers? And then I'm like, yeah, I know coding. I know this. I know that. I know nothing, by the way. I just said that I know it enough for him to put me in that spot and me pretend to know something. And then he's like, okay, well, we're looking for some problem solvers. This is a brand new facility. We're looking to promote people. And the position didn't come with any type of compensation promotion. It came more with just a different position, but at the same pay. And a problem solver at Amazon has a more chill life than a packer. Because as a packer, you work for about 3 hours, then there's a break, 3 hours, and there's a break, 3 hours. Those 3 hours you're working. Like you have to pack, I believe, 60 items within a 45-minute ratio. So every 45 seconds, you have to be packing an item. And Amazon, with its logistics, is next level. It tracks everything. It tracks from the moment that you pick up your little blade to cut the box to the moment that you put the item in the box, because it has a camera that sees every single action you're doing. It's insane, the technology. They also have that to prevent people stealing. Because when I was there, I was good friends with some people in it's called prevention or loss prevention department. Right. Bro, they would steal so many things. Like people would put iPhones underneath their shoes and walk out, and the monitor detector wouldn't detect it because it was in your shoe. Right. And it would start detecting from your knee and above. So whenever it would ring, you would have to take off your shoes. Some people would have to go into a different room and take off their pants. Like, wow. They're really intense about that. But I became a problem solver. From problem solver, I became a PA, which means process assistant, assisting the manager with whatever. And then came the big opportunity. And what I saw as like, this is my breakthrough. There was a position for program developing. And all the managers really liked me because I was always on my stuff there. Always a good performer. And I became a program developer. I was making about $140,000 a year base salary. Wow. Plus stock and other benefits. And I thought to myself, I made it. Like now I could afford the GTR that I want. And it's like, this is going to be a good life. But when I got what I wanted, I didn't want it anymore. What I thought was a blessing was a burden, if that makes any type of sense.
Explain.
The reason why is because when I got into that position, that month I started to have so many thoughts about, do I really want to be here? I'm so grateful that I even got to the position, but I'm like, is this really what I'm meant for, to do this? And a month later, I decided to walk out of the whole warehouse. I'm walking out at 1:30 in the morning, and I took a big risk because I didn't tell anyone I was walking out. I never punched in PTO, personal time off, or VTO, vacation time off, or some other hours that they would give you in case you had an emergency. And I took that whole month off. And then I came back to Amazon and people were like, where have you been? And in that month, I started to trade again with the money I was making, because I was making really good money, about $9,000 a month, $10,000 a month after taxes. And I deposited money and I took about $10,000 to $28,000. And then I decided to go back to Amazon because I'm like, I still need my job. But when I went back, they're like, you haven't been here in 30 days. like, what are you doing here? And I'm like, I came back to work. And they're like, you're fired.
Right.
You haven't been here in 30 days. I'm like, they're like, are you sick? And then I'm like, I didn't think fast enough. And I'm like, no, I'm healthy.
Right.
So why haven't you came to work? I'm like, oh, fuck. Yeah, they got me. It's hard for me to lie. I'm just genuine. So that same month that I went back, 2 weeks later, guess what happens? COVID.
Okay.
So even if I would have went back to work, I would have still had to go home.
Right.
And during COVID, where so many people lost their jobs, so many people lost the opportunity that they're in, so many people lost their position, so many people lost their position because they refused to get a vaccine, right? I progressed up tremendously. That's where I built Pips Nation. And I built a community of 5 traders that grew to over 30,000 traders on Telegram. And I would teach on Zoom calls. I would educate people. And that's where I really started to find a lot of the profitability that I have acquired today. It was mainly when I decided to take these risks of giving it all up and trusting in myself and believing in myself that I'm meant for much more. And not only just believing in myself, but taking the action behind it, putting the action behind all of those things. Yeah.
Now, did you have siblings growing up?
Yes.
Brothers, sisters?
Yeah. So I had a brother. He was studying to become a police officer. So it's not like it really inspired me because I thought about myself becoming much more like
older or younger?
So both my brother and my sister are older than me.
Okay.
My brother was going to become a police officer. Really didn't inspire me, but I still looked up to him. And then my sister at the time didn't have her life figured out. She was still in a party phase, in a little toxic phase, you would say. And I'm just saying this because why lie about the situation? That's what really happened, because she was in that phase and I'm like, wow, like this isn't helping. And she turned her whole life around. And today my sister is a cardiovascular assistant robotic tech surgeon. She operates on your heart with a robot, right? And at the time, my siblings, I really didn't look up to. Like, I didn't look up to my parents because they're not where I wanted to be. I didn't look up to my siblings. I had to create my own imagination of what I wanted. And that took a lot of faith and a lot of believing. And I did that through just having the sheer willpower of understanding what is out there for myself.
Did you have a mentor or not really?
Yeah, I had mentors in network marketing. Unfortunately, these mentors utilized me. They taught me a lot, but they used me because of the value that I brought them, meaning the massive organizations that I brought them. So when I left Amazon, I did create Pips Nation, but I also got involved in another network marketing company named B. In B, I had tremendous success. B was a network marketing company that sold Forex educational products. And I had tremendous success in that company. I was making about $35,000, $40,000 a month continuously for many months. And I met a mentor there that I looked up to him so heavily because he was the VP of the United States, the Vice President of the United States organization. And I looked up to him so much to just find out that what you thought was a hero is just a guy that utilizes drugs to perform every day. And I'm like, wow, like this is not what I want to be. And I thought that he was this great, successful trader in the area of futures and options. And when you look at the real portfolio, right, because I bought a computer of his, he didn't delete all the history in the computer. I log in the computer and I see all of these blown accounts.
Right.
And it wasn't even underneath his name. It was underneath so many other people's name where he's blowing up people's money. I'm like, wow, like this guy put on this whole persona of how good he is in trading and how good he is in life and in business. And it's all it's all a fake story. It's almost like Instagram,
right?
Where Instagram nowadays, you don't know what's real. You don't know what's fake because everyone on Instagram looks happy.
Right.
They never post about what they're really going through, if that makes sense.
Well, so let me ask you this. You've had quite a few, I guess I'll call them disappointments, right? They always say be careful about really meeting your heroes because sometimes it doesn't play out quite the way that you think.
Absolutely.
I mean, do you think it's made you cynical?
I wouldn't say that it has, because I still believe there's really good people out there. And just because I've had a tough experience meeting certain people, I would never look at someone else and judge them based on my past experiences. And those people that are in my past today, I forgive them because I believe what you did in the past is in the past. What matters to me is what you do in the present. And one example of that is a certain person that I hired into one of my companies where, he unfortunately stole from another company. And I asked him, why did you do it? I knew he did it. And he was very openly honest of why he did it. And what mattered to me was the fact that he's willing to take accountability and willing to change. And, with him still stealing money from another company, I still decided to hire him. And I decided to hire him for 2 reasons. Number one, I owe him. If I owe you something, I'll go to the end of the world to repay you. Whether I owe you a favor, whether I owe you money, whether I owe you anything, I pay my debts in full with interest. The second reason that I decided to hire him is because I don't want to judge people based off their past. Now, does this mean that if you kill someone, I'm not going to judge you? Absolutely not. Don't take it out of context.
Right.
But it means that if you've had slip-ups in your way to become, your better self, it's completely normal because everyone causes sin. Everyone messes up in one area or another. And, it takes someone with a really good understanding to forgive and move past forward that to something greater. Right. And that's what essentially I'm trying to do with, people who have screwed me over, done all of these things to me. I put things in the past and I move forward. And then with people that I meet to this day, I open them with welcome arms. I'm just very careful with what they say and how to say. I'm a very good listener in that aspect.
So obviously I met your girlfriend who you're in business with. And so maybe talk a little bit about that, what it's like to be in business with your romantic partner. And also I think you guys have some interesting philosophies around management and leadership that I think more companies could benefit from. So maybe talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So it's kind of a funny situation, but me and her actually split up. And we split up because of some things in the past that I did that that flourished. And we decided to part ways in the healthiest way possible. And in terms of the business, we still operate in the business together. And this is something that I really like because majority of the time that people break up, everything falls apart. With me, what fell apart with her is our relationship. But our relationship in business is still intact very strongly. And the reason it's intact very strongly is because we had vows to one another that we're going to build something together. And that's where the first thing that came to our minds is instead of putting ourselves first, we have to put team first. So we're like, how would the team feel if we told them this and you just parted ways and completely exited? And they wouldn't feel too good about that. So we've came to the decision that we're still going to work together and still respect our boundaries and not bring our personal life into our business life to have a very successful operational business. Now, when it comes to leadership skills and what she does and what I do, that's something that we take, that's our biggest priority, I would say. It's the way that we treat our employees or that we treat our customers. With our employees, every single employee in my company has a set goal every single month, whether it's taking 10,000 steps that people may see as, okay, you're just walking every day, but they don't understand the value or the clarity that gives you. Because when you go on a long walk multiple times a day, it lets you think. Like, go on a long walk without music. Don't have AirPods, don't have Beats, don't even have your phone. Or if you do have your phone because you're a father, you need your phone, have your phone on silent and just walk and think about things. It'll give you a lot of mental clarity, but it would also help you with your body. We have other people who have lost 15 pounds in terms of health. We have other people who've gotten closer to God through the word, through the gospel. We've had other people who've went from this area of personal development to this area in personal development through the different actions that they're taking and listening to different audios, reading different books. So all in between, we always think about how we could help our employees become their better selves. Because something that I see too many businesses do far too often is if an employee is not capable, fire them, hire someone that is. Why not grab someone who's not capable and build them to that capacity? Because once you build someone to that capacity and you invest time, energy, resources, money, that person's going to stay with you forever. And that's what we're trying to do with the companies that we built, me and her, is build a foundation that's so strong that, a hurricane could knock off branches, could knock off leaves, but it's not going to knock down the whole tree.
What are the raw materials, though, that someone has to have for you to decide that they're worth making that investment in them to help build up the ability? Because I think Elon Musk talks about this too, where he's like, give me someone with that maybe his single biggest, most common mistake that he continues to make even to this day is hiring on raw talent alone. And that he's like, actually, it's odd because my experience is give me someone with a little bit less talent, but they've got the right heart, they got the right intentions, they're an honest, disciplined person, and that person will it's a marathon, not a sprint. So what are the raw materials you look for?
Mainly two. The first one's honesty, and then the second one is their work ethic. The first one is the most important for me. Their honesty. Can you do something? Yes or no? If you can't do it, okay, we'll help you. If you could do it, great. The work ethic is the second most important because what happens if you have a really hard worker, but they're not honest? So you have someone that outperforms everyone in terms of work performance, but they're not honest about what they're capable of doing. And they tell you, yes, I could do this, but they really can't. Then that's where mistakes arrive and problems arrive. So the first thing I look for is honesty. That's why I hired the guy who stole from someone else, because he was honest about what he did. He took full accountability. And then the second reason I hired him is because I know that he outworks everyone.
Right.
He outworks everyone. He's one of the hardest workers I've ever seen. He outworks me. And I'm very honest with people. I'm like, if you outwork me, I'll tell you. You get me? Because to me, it's not a competition. Some people, you may outwork me, right, in something, but I may think about something smarter that outperforms your outworking me. So those are the two qualities I really look for. Honesty, if they could be really honest about what they could do, how they could do it.
Right.
And then the work ethic. Because with the work ethic, if someone's willing to work and willing to learn, you could teach them anything. Then comes, how long does it take them to grasp things? But most people that want to work and have that hunger and have that drive, they retain things fairly quickly. Yeah. So those are two main qualities I look for in hiring someone.
And how do you think about, because as someone who's, clearly has an entrepreneurial, lens that you see things through, that requires you to have some level of ego. And ego is that double-edged sword where it can drive you, but can also be your downfall. How do you think about, ego and humility, both in yourself and in others on your team?
Yeah. I believe that ego is the enemy. Because I have found myself majority of the times that I'm egotistic in conversations, it never ends well because I'm always thinking about myself. And that's where I have to have empathy and have to be a understanding person to know that ego is not going to get this relationship forward or this friendship to move forward. It will do the complete opposite because it just makes you think about one area or from one point of view. So I think that having ego is not really a good thing in business. And if your employees have an ego, it's also not a good thing, right? There's a difference between ego and confidence. Confidence is where your employee is so confident about what he could do that it comes off almost like egotistic, but in a nicer way. You get me? Being egotistic is just, I believe it's toxic. It's like that person who, what's a good way of explaining this? It's like a person who is so full of themselves that they don't think about what others think, or they think that they know everything, when in reality, other people know just the same amount. I think ego is built on two things. Number one, insecurity, where they feel insecure about how they're being treated. They feel insecure about, if you outperform me, I may get demoted, I may get fired. So that's where ego comes from. One of them is insecurity. And then the second aspect of where ego comes from is I really think it's from what people are consuming from social media. People see people like Andrew Tate, right? Or people see other people on the internet. And they see these people that are all high and mighty and talking about all this success, right? At their level, right? It's not that they have ego, it's that they have standards, they have boundaries. If they don't get what they want, this is what's going to happen. But they could do those type of things because they're at a different level than you. If you work at McDonald's and you have an ego, there's a problem.
Right.
If you make, $100,000 a month and you have an ego, there's a problem. Now, when you're someone like Andrew Tate, I do not know how much he makes, but based off his lifestyle on Instagram, the guy makes over at least a 50 million plus a year. If you have an ego, it's because you could back it up with everything that you have built around you. If you have an ego, it's because you've been through all these trials and tribulations and you could back it up essentially. But if you're not where you want to be and you have an ego, it's not going to get you far. Mm-hmm. And I don't even think that person even has an ego. I just think that that's how they think about themselves.
Right.
In a very high way.
Well, now you also are pretty into martial arts. Mm-hmm. And I think that martial arts are, in terms of keeping you humble, martial arts are really good because there's always going to be someone who's going to kick your ass.
Oh yeah.
So maybe talk a little bit about your journey in martial arts and maybe parallels that you can draw between how you started in martial arts and because having been a wrestler and done some Brazilian jiu-jitsu too. Like you start out, you're really bad.
Yeah.
And you see how incremental improvement, relatively small improvements, but stacked up over and over and over again, add up pretty quick. And all of a sudden you're competent.
Yeah.
I feel like business is kind of a lot of that, but maybe talk a little bit about your journey in martial arts a little bit.
Yeah. So we could talk about any martial art. We could talk about boxing, kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, but let's talk about just grappling. Wrestling and jiu-jitsu combined, grappling. No striking involved. Majority of the people that watch this video have no idea that they don't know anything. They go up against someone who has done the sport for 1 year and they will be dominated in a way that they couldn't imagine. Now, if you're 50 pounds over that person, right, you might beat him. Right. But if that person has 2-3 years of experience, even if you're 50 pounds, even if you're stronger, they will dominate you. And that's something about martial arts that I like. Martial arts is not something you could put a filter on. You could, look good on Instagram by creating a video of you boxing and hitting mitts, but wait until you get to a real fight. That's where you'll see how good you are. And I feel like that's business because in Instagram, every business looks like they're performing well, right? But in real life, unless you are in the back end of things, you do not know how it's doing. And it's almost like martial arts in a way. Everyone poses how they're such a good fighter and they have such confidence in this and that. But it's until you get into a real fight that you see how good of a fighter you really are. So martial arts on me has had a big effect ever since I've been a kid. I absolutely like martial arts. The reason I like martial arts is for one reason. I've never been good at any other sport. I'm a decent ice skater, but like I said, I'm nowhere near amateur or pro level. And any sport that has a ball, I'm not good at. Right. Like, I'm not meant to play with balls. Sorry. Right? I prefer punching people. I prefer, getting someone in a choke. I prefer to, grabbing someone's knee and bending it. Like, I prefer that over, bouncing a ball and throwing it into a hoop. I respect everyone that does it because I watch basketball, I watch football, I watch soccer, I watch all these different sports. It's by no means anything easy. And that's actually something I want to talk about.
Sure.
My pastor loves soccer. Like, this guy is the biggest soccer fanatic. And then everyone in my church plays soccer, almost everyone. And I troll these guys. I'm like, I'll go do your sport, but you guys come and do mine, right? So I kept telling them, I'm like, you don't need that much talent to kick a ball. Like, you're kicking a ball in a net that's like as big as this whole studio. Like, you get me? Like, you don't need that much talent. So then I go and play soccer with them. Every time I grabbed the ball, someone took it away. So it goes to show that in every single sport, you need a level of experience to become a decent player. And I really got humbled in soccer because, man, I was awful. And then I'm like, come do my sport. Let's see how you guys perform in my stuff. But martial arts is a big part of me. I feel like I'm going to do martial arts till the day I die because...
How old were you when you started?
I started at 4.5, 5 years old,
wow.
More or less. Yeah.
That's right, because I remember you telling me that was sort of like your daycare almost, right?
Yeah. So my parents, when we came here from Cuba, they didn't have enough money for a daycare.
Right.
It was only my dad providing, and they didn't have enough money to cover the daycare expenses. So there was an MMA school that taught everything. And the MMA school was like $15 a week opposed to $80 a week, which adds up over the course of a month. And they just decided to leave me in the MMA school. And I would stay there from, I believe in elementary, we would get out of school at 3:30 or 3 p.m. I would stay there from 3:30 all the way to 6.
Right.
And, 2 of those hours I was playing around, running around the gym with all the other little kids. And then 1 hour was for training.
Right.
Yeah.
Man, that has to stack up after all those years. 4.5. Wow. No wonder you're good. What belt are you, by the way?
So I'm not a belt.
Okay.
This is going to be funny. I respect the gi.
Right.
I just don't like it.
Got it.
I respect it because...
I don't like doing gi either.
I respect it because it's
You're not going to
difficult.
walk around in a gi.
Unless we live in London and someone's wearing a suit, not in Miami. Like, if you grab my shirt and you pull it, you're going to rip it.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I respect the gi 100% because that's where Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was formed. It came from judo, and judo originally is a gi. And I respect it. I just don't like it for one scenario only. If you're going to fight someone in the street, it's very unlikely that you're going to grab their clothing to control them or to punch them. It's very, very unlikely. Can it happen? Anything can happen, right? But the possibilities of it happening, very unlikely. So I prefer to grapple without the gi, where without the gi, you're super sweaty. You try to attempt anything, you're slipping right off unless you have real good control. That's why I just prefer grappling without the gi.
Yeah. Well, so talk a little bit. I know we've got plans tomorrow evening to go to your church together.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about your faith, and maybe that's have you been religious throughout your whole life, or is that something you came to a little bit later?
Yeah. So as a kid, I went to church a handful of times, like 4 or 5 times, and every time I went to church, I got so bored. Like, I didn't understand the message. So I just got bored. I'm like, why is everyone here sitting or worshiping? I didn't understand it as a kid. And then when I was 19 years old, that I got involved with IML, everyone in IML would go to a church called VU Church.
Okay.
And VU Church is one of the biggest churches here in South Florida. But they would go to church not for the worshiping, because they would get there late, right? And they wouldn't really even go for the word, meaning the preaching. They would mainly go to recruit people in church. And this is where, if anyone ever tells me, I feel like God has put me here with you,
right,
so we could do this business together, I'll tell them, fuck you. Like, get the fuck out of my face. Like, don't bring in religion or don't bring in this.
Right.
Trying to convince me to do business with you. But that's how it was. I went to church with the mindset of, I'm going to recruit this person. I'm going to recruit that person. So that left like an ill taste in my mouth about VU. Nothing that's their fault, by the way, but it gave me a real ill mouth after I understood, why was I even going to recruit people out of church?
Right.
And the main reason they would tell you, hey, go to church, is because in church, it's very easy to connect. Church is a place that, people are more vulnerable, because it's a place that has always been as, you go to church and you fellowship right after the service. You talk to people. Yeah. You aren't really that closed unless, you have a few people that are to themselves, which is completely fine. But majority of the people, they go up to you, happy Sunday, how did you like the word? How did you like this? And from there, you could escalate that conversation to business. And there's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion. But when you do it every Sunday and you're just going for that intention, that's where it's like, I didn't really like it. So I stopped going to church after those experiences. And it wasn't until I actually had a podcast with my current pastor today that I started to go to church again. So my current pastor today, he has a business called Eurostable, where whatever car you need, he will get you. If you want a Koenigsegg, which is extremely rare to find, he will get you. If you want a 918, Spider Porsche, he'll get you it. Whatever you need, he will get you it. Somehow, some way, it'll get done. And at the time, it was the year of 2023 in October. I went to a racing event called FL2K and I got second place because I got sandbagged. Sandbag means another car is way faster than yours. They're not even in the same category. They're not supposed to be in the same category. So I got sandbagged and I was like egotistic. I'm like, fuck this guy for sandbagging me. I was supposed to win this event. And at the time I was making more money than I've ever made in my life. And I'm like, fuck it. I'm going to buy a Lamborghini STO and I'm going to twin turbo it and it's going to make 3,000 horsepower. And me and a Korean mechanic of mine are we're going to dominate. So that same month, within 2 weeks, I'm like, hey, I want to purchase this car, but I want to purchase it with crypto because I had a lot of crypto at the time. So I got in contact with Albert and I'm like, Albert, I'd like to purchase the car. We'll purchase it in crypto. It's 100% legal. And I purchased a Lamborghini STO. And a month later, I believe I invite him to my podcast. And he never talks about the word, not once. All we talk about is cars and some life things, but mainly cars. And then fast forward a month after that, me and my ex-girlfriend are going through hard things. And she decides to go to church with one of her best friends. And when she's at church, she realizes, or I don't know how it comes to fruition, but someone's like, oh, someone looked at my podcast and someone's like, oh, that's Luis. That's where my name on Instagram came in. That's Luis. And I think it was Jessica who told me, hey, this is the guy who was on your podcast. And I called him and I'm like, you're a pastor? Well, I never knew this. And me and this guy are super cool with one another. He helped me get my SEO. He's helped me with other things in terms of the car world. I'm like, bro, I would love to attend your service. And I went to the first service for one reason, not to praise God, nothing to do with religion, nothing to do with faith, just going to support a friend. And from the first service, I got hooked. But that whole year, right, I did a lot of regrettable things that I regret. The whole year I was learning about God, but doing the complete opposite. But what was crazy about that year, because now we're transitioning to 2024, is that I prayed for one thing, strength and wisdom. And everything fell apart for me. A lot of my businesses, a lot of my relationships, a lot of things. And it's crazy because I asked for two things, just strength and wisdom. Strength was to have the strength to overcome everything that's falling. And wisdom was to recreate it even stronger. And I feel like that's what I've done today. But that whole year, I go to church and I never worship. I never truly believe in the word. I never pray over somebody else. I just pray for myself. So that's being very selfish. And it wasn't until this year that I really decided to give it all up and really understand what the word is about. And once I started to do that, not saying that if you believe in God or in faith, your life will magically turn around, because your actions and your decision is what decides that. But once I started to do that, a lot of things in my life started to change. And I feel like now I'm in a position where last year I was a very quick person to decide. Now I tell people, give me an hour to think about it, or let me think things through to then follow through with it. I'm a very more understanding person of the situation, and I don't look at things just from my point of view, but from their point of view. So those are some of the great benefits I've gotten from going to church, getting closer to the word, and really worshiping the one.
So, wow. So it's pretty recent, like really just the last few months.
Yeah.
And how long have you been seeing this particular preacher, pastor?
A year, and we are in May.
Okay.
Are we in May?
Yeah, we're in May. Yeah.
Doesn't even matter what month we're in.
Uh-huh.
A year and 6 months, a year and 5 months, more or less.
Okay.
December of 2023, the whole year. Yeah, a year and a month, a year and 5 months.
And so what's different about his approach to faith versus what you've been exposed to before that you really resonated and connected with it?
Well, it wasn't really him. He is an amazing pastor, because I've had problems that other friends would say X, Y, and Z, or they would say just forget about it or move on from it. From his point of view, it's always like, okay, well, have you looked at it from that other person's point of view? Have you had empathy? Are you even understanding what they're going through? Do you understand why they're being this way? It's really questions that make you really think about why this person is doing what they're doing. And what can you do to have a better solution at the end rather than conflict? So again, he's a great preacher. He's a great human being. But I feel like what got me really close is seeing everything that I prayed for come to fruition. I prayed for strength, and I went through a lot of tough battles, and I'm still going through a lot of tough battles. I prayed for wisdom, and I've gotten so much wiser. I've learned so much about the industry that I'm in now, which is still the Forex industry, to a level that people could only dream of getting to. I've gotten to this level in terms of knowledge that I'm able to do things that really set me apart from everyone. And, I prayed for these things, and they came to me in the forms of really hard tests, and I've surpassed these tests. And I'm really excited for what's to come, because I really feel the best is yet to come. And I'm just grateful to be where I'm at. That's something that last week on Friday, when we were worshiping, I actually cried a lot during the worship, because some girl was explaining how she's had suicidal thoughts. She would do these things to herself. She faced these trials, these tribulations. And I'm like, wow, I am so lucky that I haven't had to go through that. So I started to cry, because I'm like, what a bitch am I to think that I've had a hard life compared to people in third world countries, compared to this girl, compared to other people who have it a million times harder than me. I have food at my table every day. I have beautiful dogs. I have really good friendships. I have really good things around me. And I just started to cry, because I was crying out of two things. Number one, I felt like such a complaining bitch about saying, I don't have this yet. And I wasn't grateful for what I didn't have. I wasn't grateful for what I had. And then the second thing is mainly just me being so grateful for what I do have. And that's what gets me closer and closer to the word.
Now you're 27, 25?
25.
25. So you still got a long road ahead for your career. What are your, do you have specific goals and aspirations, or is it like, hey, look, I'm still young, I'm still figuring it out. I'm kind of more focused on the journey and not so much on the destination, or tell me how you look at things.
Well, that's actually, I'm going to go off the question a little bit and come right back to it. But that's why I love hanging around you so much. So every time that we hang out, I appreciate it so much, because every single conversation that I have with you, I learn so much from you, from either a business perspective, because you're so smart when it comes to business, but from also a life perspective, because you're 59. So you're twice my age, and you have so much more experience than I do. And I think that young people should really speak to people who are older than them and have the success that they want, so they understand what to do and what not to do. Because at the end of the day, people are always going to commit mistakes, but it's about not avoiding the mistakes, but knowing how to fix that problem as quickly as possible and moving forward. Your question was, am I focused on my goals?
Are you goal oriented, or are you more like, look, I'm just enjoying the journey. I know what's right in front of me. I'm going to focus on that and try to, move the ball down the field. Or, hey, you know what? I got to be. I remember one of the mistakes. I call it a mistake. You could reframe it, I guess. But when I think about some of the mistakes when I was more your age, when I was closer to your age, I was not only just like focused on trying to accomplish things, but like it was disproportionately important to me that I do it by a certain age. Like I have to do this by 25 and this by 30. And at the end of the day, like you get there when you get there. It's like focus on the journey a little bit more, and it makes the destination. Getting there a little bit more fun.
Yeah. So yesterday in church, they spoke about this. The title of the sermon, the preaching, was "What's the Rush?" And for me, I don't have to be a specific age to accomplish things. Like, you know how some people are like, by 30, I want to be married, or by 30, I want to have kids, or by 30, I want to be a millionaire. I don't have a set age on when I want to do things. That's why I resonated with the preaching so much, because it's like, what's the rush? My thing is, I have goals, right? And I have deadline for those goals, but it doesn't mean that if I don't hit the deadline that, I'm going to have a sorrow or anything. The deadline is mainly for me to understand that by this time I need to get this done. But my goals are more of, things like, one of my major goals right now is to drop body fat. So by July 24th, I want to be at 9 to 10% body fat level. Now, that goal, the reason I want to be that at that time is because it's my birthday. For my birthday, my last 25 birthdays, I've never looked as good as I imagined myself looking at that 9 to 10% body fat. So that's a goal. In goals in business, let's say by December, I want one of my companies to be producing $1 million+ in net revenue. If we hit it, great. If we don't hit it or come close, great. My life isn't so much about, being so strict on myself anymore, because I'm grateful for what I have. I know I have a lot more coming to me. So I don't look at it as in my life revolves only about work. Like, there's so much more to life than, to me at least, than just about making the most amount of money possible. Like, I've seen a lot of people, like people from Shark Tank, these investors, they are multi-millionaires. And I've seen them in interviews and they're like, what's your goal? And they're like, to make more money. That's it? Like, bro, you already have 500 million. Like, what else do you need more money for? Because someone said this. Someone said, if you're making over $20 million a year USD, what do you need more money for? You don't need to buy a yacht. You could rent one. You don't need to buy a private plane. You could charter one. You could rent one as well, or take one. And when you're making over $20 million a year, you have the house that you want, you have the cars that you want, you have the options that you want, you could invest into different things. So it's like, why should your focus only be more money, more money, more money? My focus is, what can I build that will bring me a lot of joy? You get me?
Yeah.
Like, something that I am set on, like, since you talked about goals, this is going to happen no matter what. I am going to build a church before I build my first house. I'm dead set on that. I'll continue to rent until I build a church first. And then after that, I'll build my house. That is something that I'm dead set on. Reasoning is because I feel like a lot of things have changed since I have became faithful to the word and faithful to the Lord. So to me, I have to build his temple first before I build my own. And that's something that is like a non-negotiable for me, for an example.
Now, is this a church that you want to build for the pastor that you're seeing, or is this like something you want to do for? Who's going to worship at this church you're going to have built?
Definitely the pastors that I'm with today. Good. I would love to do it alongside them, but it wouldn't only be for them. It'll be for anyone that is, worthy. You get me? The whole point is, the whole name of the church is Made Worthy. You get me? You come into here because you're broken, but you are worthy of a lot. And I wouldn't really put restrictions on it in terms of like who's going to be preaching, who's going to be that. That's all in the future. My goal now is to accumulate money to do it. When that time comes, I would love to be on another podcast with you to talk to you about that journey. But right now, my goal is just raise up the funds. And I shouldn't say raise up the funds, but make the funds.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, so, flash forward, 34 years from now, you'll be my age.
Yeah.
So imagine you're, 59.
I hope I make it there.
You'll definitely make it there. Barring, struck by lightning or something. But, what would you like to be true about your life? So you'll have your church built.
Yeah.
You'll be in your dream home.
Yeah.
But tell me, like, if you, and maybe you haven't thought about it. I'm just curious if you've thought that far in the head, like, hey, in a perfect world, here's kind of where I'd like to be when I'm a bit older.
Yeah. So the reason I said I hope I make it there is because of what just happened a month ago.
Oh,
where I had my car
crash.
Yeah, I crashed at 110 miles. I don't have it anymore because that thing is totaled. I had a twin turbo R8, made 1,600 horsepower, faster than a Bugatti Veyron, faster than anything you'll find in the street, unless it's another Lambo with twin turbos or an R8 with twin turbos. And essentially, this is what's crazy. I was selling the car to utilize the money for my business. And the car, my current car, I have a Mercedes GLE, needed an oil change. So I go drop off the Mercedes to Albert at Eurostable. Again, he does everything with my cars and Tommy, TBK. I drop off my car with him and I'm like, hey, I need the oil change. Let me take my R8. And when I took my R8, I'm like, man, I feel like something's going to happen, right? Because my R8's been sitting there for about 3 weeks. It's been getting a few offers. Something's going to happen. And I take the R8, nothing happens the first day. Then the second day, on my way to grappling, to jiu-jitsu, I'm like, I'm going to film a video because everyone's been asking me to do a pull. When I say everyone, I mean anyone who's going to buy it wants to see the performance of the car.
Sure.
And when I do it on the safest map, which is map 0, only 1,000 horsepower. And for some reason, the car steered to the left, which made no sense to me because out of all my cars, I've had 1,000 horsepower McLaren 720, 900 horsepower Corvette 01, Lamborghini STO, 1,000 horsepower Urus, 1,000 horsepower Ford Mustang, 1,000 horsepower Corvette. I've had multiple Corvettes. I love America. So out of all my cars, this is the safest one, right? This is the one that, it should not have any technical issues. I mean, it had a computer. It's called a Multec. A Multec is the most advanced computer for a car possible. I mean, it controls everything from, in the time of a fraction of a millisecond, it controls things in a computer to stop power, give more power. It's amazing what that technology could do. But for some reason, the car just steered to the left. I hit the wall at 110, 105 miles an hour. From hitting that wall, I steered, hit another wall. This guy gets off a truck. He's like, oh my God, what happened to you? I get off my car and I start bitching. I'm like, fuck, why does this shit happen to me? Fuck, I just bitch and bitch. And after 10 minutes...
Dude, you walked away, man.
Yeah, after 10 minutes, I'm like, man, what am I bitching about? And as I crashed, there's only one thing that I thought of, my dogs.
Right.
I swear, I only thought about my dogs. I didn't think about anything else but my dogs. And, I got out the car. I had a few scrapes here on my leg, and then my finger was jammed up. But besides that, nothing happened to me. No lower back pain, nothing happened to me. And after they pick up the car, Albert came to the rescue, right? He picked up the car. He took it to the shop. My friend comes, picks me up, and takes me home. And as soon as I get home, he's like, how are you even walking? And I'm like, bro, I don't know, but let's take the dogs out. And I go and I take out my dogs for a walk as if nothing ever happened. And then I just go about my day. But I forgot where I was going with this story.
You were told.
Yeah. I'm like, that's why I wish I could make it to 59 because, I still want to get a Lamborghini STO and I still want a twin turbo and take it to the next level because it's just that adrenaline that I want to feel. Like, I'm not scared of it. I crash and I crash. It's normal. It's like a business taking a downfall. It's normal. You get back up and you keep going. So I do want to do things that do put my life in risk, but no risk, no reward. I even have it tattooed on the back of my neck. No risk, no reward. So that's why I say I hope I make it there. Yeah.
Okay. Well, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Well, Luis, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this today. Where can people find you and where can they find your company?
Yeah, so you could find me on Instagram. That's Luis, DATS, and then _ Luis. In terms of my company, it's called TradersMrk. You can find it underneath the bio of my Instagram. And if you ever want to get in contact with me, you could send me a DM and I'll reply as quickly as possible. But thank you so much for having me here, Dave.
Really, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Awesome.
Cool.